Hello YouTube, Heartless Angel here, back with another ORAS Wi-Fi battle. Now, I know that I've been absent recently, and forgive me with the holidays and everything going on, I was unable to upload anything. However, I do have a great RU match for you guys today, or at least I think it's a great RU match. I am pretty new to RU. I don't know everything that goes on in it, so I am still learning. So today we're facing Carter, and he starts out with his Clotsers. I start off with my Cinchino. Now, not wanting to go for Bullet Seed just in case he decides to switch down to his Whimsicott, I decide to go for the U-turn. He does, however, decide to stay in, and that prompts me to go into Dragology, knowing that I can take a Water Pulse or an Aura Sphere from this thing any day of the week, even if it is Choice Spec. So he does go for the Aura Sphere, and Dragology takes it pretty decently. He decides to switch out as I go for the Sludge Wave, and unfortunately his Lopunny gets hit, and that will completely decimate his Lopunny. This is Adaptability Choice Specs Dragology. And just to note, this is before Lopunny was considered to be OU, so this is legal. He decides to come out into his Cresselia now, and knowing I don't want to take a Psychic to the face, I decide to switch out into Cofagrigus. I know it may seem like a weird choice considering that Cofagrigus is physically defensive, but once you see here, the Psychic does almost nothing. I mean, Cofagrigus takes it surprisingly well for not being invested in special defense at all. So he decides to withdraw as I go for the Will-O-Wisp, wanting to get some damage on the Cresselia because I know that Cresselia is really bulky, so any residual damage on this thing would be great. He does, however, decide to switch out into his Shiftry, which is actually really great for me because Shiftry is a great physical attacker, and burning it really cripples it. Still, I don't want to take a knockoff here, so I decide to switch out into Pidgeot, as he does indeed go for the knockoff, and despite the fact that he's burned and I have no item to knock off because of my Mega Stone, it does a decent amount, and he does reveal that he is Life Orb. So after the burn and the Life Orb damage, I can see, okay, a Hurricane is my best bet here. However, he decides to switch back out into the Cresselia as I go for the Mega Evolution and the Hurricane. And as you will see, this Cresselia eats it up. This Cresselia is the bane of this battle for me, you will see why soon, folks. Trust me. So after the Leftovers recovery, the Hurricane does absolutely nothing on this thing. So not wanting to stay in and take anything and not be able to do anything against this Cresselia, I decide to switch back out into Cofagrigus, as he actually reveals that he's running the Thunder Wave, which is actually really interesting and makes me really glad I decided to switch out, because a paralyzed Mega Pidgeot is a crippled Mega Pidgeot. So after we both get our Leftovers recoveries, we are both essentially just about at full health. So two walls facing each other. I decide to go straight for damage and go for the Shadow Ball, just wanting to get some kind of damage on this Cresselia. He does, however, decide to switch back out into the Clotzer, and as you will see here, the Shadow Ball actually does a decent amount, despite only being invested 4 EVs into special attack, so that is really good. However, predicting the Dark Pulse here, I decide to switch out and go into my Emboar, as he actually goes for the Ice Beam, most likely predicting the Dragology switch once again. So that was a great play on his part, but unfortunately, he did overpredict a little bit. So I decide to go for a Flare Blitz here. This is a Choice Banded Emboar, and the reason why I went for Flare Blitz was I was pretty confident that Flare Blitz would be able to take down the Clotzer from that range, and even if not, it would hurt anything that came in very hard. And he does decide to come into the Gligar, and it won't be a 2-hit KO, and I don't want to take an Earthquake from this thing, so I decide to switch back out into Cofagrigus, as he goes for the Stealth Rock. So after Leftovers recovery, obviously he's holding the Eviolite. I don't run knockoff on this Cofagrigus, unfortunately. I actually tech Energy Ball, funny as it may seem. So he decides to switch out and go into his Shiftry, as I once again go for the Shadow Ball. And after the burn damage, he is quite low, but I don't want to stay in because of the because of the knockoff. So I decide to switch back out into Pidgeot as he actually goes for the Leaf Storm. And that does, after the Stealth Rock damage, leaves me with a scary little amount of HP. I mean, it brings me all the way down to 7, and that is horrifying for me. So with his special attack dropped and the Life Orb and the burn damage, bring him down to almost nothing. I am confident here to go for a Roost just to get some of my HP back up and let the burn and the Life Orb do its thing. So he does decide to go for a knockoff here, which puts me at a okay amount of HP after the Roost. After the Life Orb, and as I said, after the Life Orb and the burn damage, he does go down. And this Shiftry was a pretty big threat, especially against my Cofagrigus. He does come back out into the Cresselia, and I have to get these Stealth Rocks gone. So I know the Thunder Wave is coming, but I would rather have a paralyzed Mega Pidgeot than a completely destroyed by Stealth Rock Mega Pidgeot. So I do go for the Defog here and let Pidgeot get paralyzed. So after the Leftovers recovery, his Cresselia is pretty much at full health, and I have no idea what I'm going to do here. So I decide to switch out and go back into Cofagrigus, and actually I knew that he would switch out after this. He actually goes for the Moonblast here, and it really doesn't do anything against Cofagrigus. I did bring Cofagrigus out, however, to bait out the Klotzer, because his Klotzer seems to be the thing he switches out on Cofagrigus the most. So, predicting his switch, I go into my Durant, who is my main sweeper on the team. And he does go out into the Klotzer, as I predicted, as I come out into my Durant. And I knew that a X-Scissor from this range, I am Life Orb, I have Hustle, so I knew an X-Scissor from this range would kill. However, Hustle kicks in, the X-Scissor misses, he lands the Water Pulse, and Durant goes down. So, missed opportunity right there. Oh, but it gets better, folks, because I come into Dragalge, he switches out, as I decide to go for the Draco Meteor. He comes into Cresselia, and guess what? The Draco Meteor misses. So that was a great opportunity to get a massive amount of damage on that Cresselia, if not kill. I don't know if a Choice Specs Adaptability Draco Meteor would kill the Cresselia, but even if it would have done a massive amount of damage. So with that missing, I decide to sack Pidgeot because it is crippled and I do want to stay switching. The Psychic does take it down as I suspected, so I really don't know how to deal with this Cresselia right now. I have missed so many opportunities of taking this thing down. So I come into Cinccino and I go for the knockoff, just wanting to get those that leftovers off. I don't want him to keep recovering. As he goes for the Thunder Wave, crippling my Choice Scarfer. And I did realize later that I am running all 3 choice items on this team. I did not realize that as I was building the team. I do decide to switch back out into King Tut, the Cofagrigus, knowing that he is terrified as he goes for the Moonlight, healing all that knockoff damage back. And this Cresselia is so bulky, and as you can see, folks, this Cresselia is the only thing keeping me from winning. Oh, and also if I hadn't missed my 2 moves, but let bygones be bygones. He decides to switch out and actually goes into the back into the Klotzer as I go for the Will-O-Wisp, wanting, of course, residual damage. The Will-O-Wisp on the Klotzer isn't too big of an issue due to the fact that it is a special attacker, but again, residual damage is nice, especially on this Klotzer, who is causing me quite a bit of trouble. Don't let me fool you. So I decide to switch out here and go into Cinccino, knowing that, again, I need to save switching and I don't want Cofagrigus to die yet. He does go for the Dark Pulse, and that will take Cinccino down, which is my Choice Scarfer, and which is horrible, but considering the fact that it was paralyzed to begin with, it really doesn't matter anymore, I suppose. So I decided to go into my Emboar again here, knowing that I can take this thing out with a Flare Blitz, and he is locked into Dark Pulse. I do take the Dark Pulse not very well, unfortunately, and I do take it out with the Flare Blitz, thankfully, but after the recoil, I am not at a very good amount of HP. I'm only at 41 HP now, and this is unfortunate as he decides to come back into the Glider, and the Glider outspeeds me, goes for the Earthquake, and unfortunately there goes Bacon. No more Bacon for us, guys, I'm sorry. So Embor goes down, and I'm pretty confident that I can take out this this Glider. I do decide to come into King Tut, and I do go, he does go for the knockoff here, which is unfortunate as now I don't have my leftovers. And I turn his immunity into Mummy at least, which is always nice. So I decide here to go for the Will-O-Wisp, wanting to get some residual damage off on this Glider because, of course, walls and residual damage don't mix. So he does get hurt by the burn as he decides to switch out now and go into his Whimsicott. And I'm just giving you a warning here, guys. It is going to get a little stally here for a few minutes, so forgive me. So I do get fully paralyzed. He does go for the Leech Seed. Prankster substitute Leech Seed. Whimsicott is great. So I do decide to go for the Shadow Ball, wanting to get some damage off on this Whimsicott. Not residual damage, actually, because the reason I didn't go for Will-O-Wisp was I predicted the taunt, but he did go for the Leech Seed, which is unfortunate. He does go for the Stun Spore here, predicting a switch out as I go for the Will-O-Wisp right here, wanting that residual damage because I know he's going to be getting his HP back with the Leech Seed, so at least I can mitigate that a little bit. So Leech Seed happens, leftovers happens. I believe he's running leftovers. Is he? No, he's not, actually, if I remember correctly. Sorry about that, guys. No, he's not running leftovers. He does go for the Encore, locking me into Will-O-Wisp. So, unfortunately, I will have to switch out here. From what I can see, Encore, Leech Seed, and he does have the substitute, although I don't know that at the moment. Feel safe to go into Dragalge here, knowing that I can take a neutral Moonblast, especially from a Whimsicott, which is obviously, this is a defensive Whimsicott. So I decide to switch out into Dragalge because I can hit him hard 4 times with a Sludge Wave. So that is pretty much the plan here as he decides to go for the substitute. So unfortunately, I now have to break the substitute first to get to the Whimsicott, and he will be able to Leech Seed me and all that fine stuff, unfortunately. So I do, of course, go for the Sludge Wave here as he goes for the Leech Seed. And like I said, guys, this is pretty stally here, pretty hard to commentate on as there's really not much going on. It's just me trying to break the substitute and get through to the Whimsicott. So forgive me. So the substitute fades as I land the Sludge Wave. He is running leftovers. I missed that the first time. So he does get his leftovers recovery off and the Leech Seed, and then we'll take the burn damage, and then I will go for another Sludge Wave. And I can't remember if he decides to switch out here into his Cresselia. I think he does. He may go for another substitute. No, he actually does withdraw here and go into the Cresselia as I go for the Sludge Wave. And the Cresselia essentially picks me off from here. The Sludge Wave does a okay amount, nothing crazy, and then after the Leech Seed, I am essentially screwed. To put it bluntly, I am screwed here. I have lost the game. I decide to switch out and go into Cofagrigus, knowing that this is my last hope, but with my HP this low, he does go for the Psychic, and 2 Psychics will be able to take me out. I believe the second Psychic does, yes, because I am paralyzed. He does outspeed. Psychic takes out Cofagrigus, pretty much my last hope for winning this match. So I do come into Dragalge, and I do believe I go for the Draco Meteor as he goes for the Psychic, so it didn't really matter. I knew he would outspeed, and I knew that I would die. I do actually live on 1, and I did go for the Sludge Wave, actually, because just in case I did manage to somehow take this Cresselia out, I wouldn't be screwed against the Whimsicott. Either way I would. However, so the second Psychic will take me out, and that will be the game. That was a great game. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Remember, if you liked this video, be sure to leave a like and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the video. You can also follow me on Twitter. My link is in the description below. Have a good day, guys. This is Heartless Angel, signing off.